for this opportunity. Obviously, we are very passionate about what builders are doing in the blockchain ecosystem. I'll share a little bit actually what we have identified at Crestal as a challenge today in the modular space, and then how we hope to tackle this. Maybe a quick couple of words about myself. My name is Marquen. I am typically based in Asia, in Singapore. I've been there for many years, worked in software business for many years, and then I switched to blockchain about 3-4 years ago. I had the chance to work with large companies such as Consensus, leading business development there with products like Infura and MetaMask, so very familiar with builders who are developing applications for Web3. And then after that, I had the chance to lead the business development team at Polygon. Also, like Polygon is a thriving ecosystem with lots of builders, lots of ideas. But then earlier, probably late last year into early this year, the modular narrative has started. And then we started receiving a lot of kind of questions. And it seemed like there was a lot of noise in the space with, of course, a lot of marketing pitches, products that are on testnet, mainnet, ready, not ready. And so with my team and my co-founder, Eric, we kind of have identified a possible opportunity here to create an ecosystem to guide builders on how they navigate the modular ecosystem, also match them with experts, match them with teams and individuals who have experience designing optimal architectures by leveraging these modular pieces. And that's what gave birth to Crestal, which is a kind of like a proof of performance based modular architecture. So I will share with you a little bit the journey that we have, but before actually I go into that one, I wanted to identify some of the challenges we've recognized by talking to a few builders. So we believe that, yes, there is a lot of innovation in the modular service ecosystem. There is data availability, there is storage, there is AI agents, there is a lot of pieces that you can use for your Web3 project. But then there is a lot of noise that comes with that, which makes it a bit of a hassle for a project team, for a builder to go and navigate that and understand, the landscape, what's going on, what's not going on, what works for them, what doesn't work for them. Also, like the cost of choosing a particular piece of software to implement a new project is quite high, because once you have deployed it and learned about it, then if it doesn't work out or it's not the best in the market or something else better comes out, you often find yourself a bit locked into that space. Many actually of the systems that happen today even requires you to have like a stake put in. It requires you to have perhaps a SaaS agreement, like for a 1-year subscription with an RPC provider, with an indexing provider. Like these things are not really very friendly to a Web3 fluctuant industry, where sometimes you have a bit of bear market, bull market, applications go high transaction, low transaction. And so as your needs evolve, we also wanted to find a way that Web3 service providers, so the teams and the entities and the modular services that are helping you with your project, how could they become a bit more incentivized to keep track of the changes and keep track of your app progress and growth and work with that. I want to take an example. I want to take an example, for instance, like rollups, right? I'm sharing here my screen on Twitter. I'm not sure if that's visible. I will assume it is, but essentially, like with rollups, for instance, if I am building a rollup, typically this is the list that you can see of the services that you have to look at. You have data availability. There's a lot of names today, like Avail, Celestia, EigenDA, Sunrise, Nuffle, Nubit, so on and so on. Actually, this is not even the full list. On this tweet, I could not write everybody. Same for indexers, for sequencers, prover technology, block explorer, wallet infra, RPC, Oracle. Essentially, you actually have to look at least 8 categories of types of modular building blocks that will allow you to build a successful rollup. And as we know, each rollup sometimes has a particular purpose. So sometimes a rollup is an application, essentially. So you're either building a DeFi focused one, maybe you're building a gaming focused one, maybe it's a general purpose. So how do you select and how you choose? And interestingly, with this tweet, for instance, the answers that came in of people saying, hey, you haven't looked at this and you haven't looked at that and this solution and that solution, it's an absolute mess. And so this is really where the challenge comes in. with builders trying to understand this modular ecosystem and select the right pieces for it. And so what we thought actually we could build and we could help the Web3 developers with is kind of like a decentralized network that is based on project owners declaring their intent, like I want to achieve X, Y, Z, and then expert teams will go and solve this intent and provide the right architecture design, but also be incentivized to maintain it and upgrade it. And for this, we are staying very close to the ethos of Web3 and having a fully decentralized merit-based kind of economy. So one of the important things that we wanted to do as a project, and we'll show you some of this later on, is really have this educational piece to anyone on the Web3 space, and especially builders, on what is the state of the modular ecosystem. Is there a particular dashboard, for example, we can give to show all of the information that they might need? We also wanted to bring solvers and workers. So these are actually identified certain teams that are good at designing architectures. So these are solvers. There is teams that are very good at deploying these architectures and maintaining them. These are workers. And so we want them to have a stake in the game, so they will be able to stake to solve the problems of the builders. And the journey will go something like the builder will come and describe their project. Then essentially your proposal will get deployed. And this is where the interesting part, we believe, is really very, kind of skin in the game approach. So what we want to do is that in their proposal, the solvers are essentially committing to an outcome. They're committing to a goal that the project cares about. For me as a builder, I do not really care that much. I mean, it's important, but I don't care that much whether I am using software piece number 1, software piece number 3, but perhaps what's more important for me is particular latency. It's particular cost of maintenance. It's a particular geography access, or it's a particular ecosystem access. So these are actually measurable metrics that are important to me as a project. How they are achieved, it's not really the goal. It's really tough. So this is where we are committing to a performance benchmark. And we have here the validator network. So this is the Cosmos piece where we have a set of validators are tasked to ensure that there is a valid proof of performance for this design at all times. And once we have this proof of performance, what we are doing, we can then incentivize through performance fee. So to give a very good example, if I would like to build some pieces of infrastructure for my DeFi protocol, and I wanted to commit to a certain performance, instead of having to go and speak to different teams or doing it internally, I just put my intent. Somebody will propose to me and I commit to that performance goal. And instead of actually paying them upfront and then maybe they will not deliver and maybe not, what we will do is then pay them as they meet their performance goals. And so what happens here is that solver and worker are getting a yield on good performance. And of course, to incentivize that, we want then everybody to go and be able to stake along to increase the economic security of the solvers and workers, but also share in the revenue. And so this is really kind of a real economy where we have expert teams doing real work, being rewarded as they do it in a performant way, and then open to investment where people can stake along to increase their economic security so they will be able to take on more projects. And the idea here is that there will always be an opportunity for another solver worker to come and make a better proposal and say, you know what, I can do better. Do you want to switch to me? So we're taking that headache from all the builders of the project so they can really keep updating their infrastructure to the best proposal available out there. I know this is a bit hypothetical, so I wanted to share maybe like a few screens that we have. Our testnet is coming up in July itself. And so the idea here is that we have already a dashboard that is focusing on the data availability players. And so you can find it on our Twitter and the link and you can test it out. So you can see, for example, different metrics that are important that compare avail to DA, to near DA, to zero gravity, etc., either on cost or performance, etc. And we will be adding more categories, things like compute, storage. These are the modular building pieces. So this information will be available to everyone. It's a public good. We are working on neutral ways of collecting this data. So we are not actually kind of a bottleneck with data that could be challenged. The interesting part is then actually when you connect, then you can go and design your project. What do you need for? So you'll be able to create your project. And then we have a guidance, essentially kind of a recommendation engine we call Crestal. So this recommendation engine will clarify your project goals. Like, what do you care about? What are the important things? What are the competitors that you want to go after? What is the ecosystems that you want to go after? And what it will do, it will then highlight, all right, these are the areas we should look at. So you might need some storage solutions, and these are the metrics that are important for your project. You might need some indexing solution, and these are the metrics that are important for your project. What will we do with this? What will we do is that we will then go and push this to that decentralized market of solvers. We'll say, hey, this project is looking for this. Who can make a proposal? And so you as a builder, you'll receive a couple of proposals. Some of them actually fit 100% your goals. Some of them maybe not a perfect fit. Maybe your goals are too extreme. And then that would have, of course, cost commitments, and you have to balance off this thing. So it's pretty much like making a swap, but instead of swapping a pair of ETH and USDC, you're swapping your project requirements and goals for a architecture design that is deployed for you and would be paid for as long as it performs well. So the rest you can imagine. Once you've selected actually the proposal that you want, we will go and trigger a deployment. The infrastructure is abstracted, so it doesn't matter what's deployed underneath. Really, what matters to you as a builder is that it has a few of the goals that is important to your project. And obviously, you can then go and monitor that and decide to, I don't know, drop off or ask for a better proposal, or maybe some actually upgrade proposals will come to you that you can switch to. So this is pretty much the kind of like the idea and the journey. We believe actually that in the next testnet phase, we will start collecting a lot of information about what are the builders looking for and what's important for them. And that will allow us to focus on particular use cases. From an architecture point of view, for those who are curious about how we are building this, it's essentially two-sided protocol. So we have on the right-hand side is a dApp. So it's a dApp that we will deploy on as many protocols as possible. So we will go to wherever the builders are. You could be a builder on Polygon, you could be a builder on Optimism, on Solana, somewhere else. So this dApp will be available. You will be able to come and get the information you need, express your intent, request for proposals. And then once you request for that proposal, what will happen here, our network of solvers will use market components. You know, they can really suggest any kind of like module that is available to build with, and they will package that and pass it over to you as a proposal that you can deploy for your application. And on the left-hand side here, we have the Cosmos chain, which we will have a set of validators that are allowing us to orchestrate that performance-based fee between the solvers and your project. We are halfway through our roadmap, and so we broke down this roadmap into multiple phases that make sense from a builder journey. And so at first, I am actually looking for generic information. So the read phase will give you the dashboard, will give you the information that you need. And then we are building kind of an interactive piece where the Crestal assistant will be able to interact and highlight and flesh out your application requirements. And then the critical stage that we're entering right now is actually being able to deploy, execute essentially, and deploy that design that was proposed to you. The rest is really kind of like the proof of performance verification and the incentivization mechanism of making sure that the good solvers get paid according to their work. So we're entering the testnet phase. We are going to make a little bit more announcements in the coming weeks of how you can participate. You could participate obviously as a builder. You could participate as a solver. You could participate as a validator as well. That will be monitoring and watching what's happening on the ecosystem. And then this will progress through the remaining of the year to a full-fledged mainnet that we believe will speed up all projects deployments for the builders. A couple of words on the team. So we are actually a small team as well. I think we are at about 9 or 10 right now. Eric is kind of like the brain. He has a lot of experience building like peer-to-peer systems with Tron, with Paradigm as well. He managed and worked on the BitTorrent clients for crypto as well. Myself, I'm more on the BD and business side, so working on Consensus and Fura, etc. But then there is a set of talented engineers and marketing people who are also helping us to build a robust product that has really true value for the builders and you know, can make your life easier. We have a little bit of money, so we're very thankful for our investors that allowed us to really push for this testnet. And we invite you to participate with us. So any questions, any kind of like perhaps ideas of collaboration, any needs that you want to highlight for us, we are available everywhere. Myself, I'm available on Twitter, I'm available on Telegram, and then you can join our Discord where we have a very nice community of math heads because we use Crestal Math. So thank you very much. That's the presentation that I wanted to share today. I believe we have a few minutes left for questions. I'm happy to take any of those.
Awesome. That was an amazing, learned a lot, and I'm sure the entire audience is also pretty stoked. The first question we got here on Discord from Rabbit Kicker. What tools and environments do you recommend for developing on Crestal? And what is the smart contract, the language using smart contracts?
Very good questions. In the presentation, as I explained, Crestal itself is not an execution platform. So there will not be dApps on Crestal, but there will be dApps built with Crestal. And so what we would like to do is that we invite you, perhaps, if you want to enrich the Crestal ecosystem, what we can do is actually we have a beginning of an SDK that will allow you to become a solver. So this is where then you can use AI agents, you can use algorithms that has your knowledge graph of what you built. So you could be, for example, a specialist in DeFi. You built a couple of DeFi protocols, and then you would run this SDK to listen in to all the requests coming from the builders and be able to go then suggest to them the right blueprint, the right architecture, and bid to be their solver. So this is essentially a node that we can operate. We are building it that right now. The Crestal app itself, for you to use it as a builder, that we're trying to make it multi-chain. So we are using layer 0 OFT at this moment. We will probably start deploying in one chain. I cannot announce, and it's not finalized, but we are looking at 2 or 3 chains that are quite popular right now to go and deploy the testnet in. But then once we have the testnet working, then with layer 0, then builders can come and pay for the services on any protocol that they choose. They could come from obviously EVM at the beginning, but then hopefully move towards SVM and move as well. Yeah, so those are actually where the 2 pieces at this stage we believe are good for integration. So it's more of actually being able to push requests into Crestal, but then also being able to listen to requests coming into Crestal and participate. So we are not the ones actually doing the solving. We're not the ones taking business from experts. We are just matching the builders and the experts.
Awesome. Another question we got is, how does the proof of performance work in practice? Is there any metrics that are used in terms of validating performance?
So it's of course a sophisticated thing because performance means different things for different people. And so that's why actually we're starting with subcategories of modular services first. So we have the DA, the data availability, as a first modular service. And so in our dashboards, I'm not sure how we can share the link of the dashboard, but you can find it on our Twitter. If you go today and look at the alpha version of the dashboard, we have identified about 20 measurable metrics of the performance of a DA. And in reality, actually, not all the DAs have the same that matter. So I would probably narrow it down to 10 common metrics that people would care about. So they would care, for example, about cost per blob, size of the blob, the security assumptions that the DA does, maybe the decentralization factor of that. And so these, we try to translate them to a measurable metric that 2 persons can agree on. So it's objective metrics. And what will happen here is that a validator will go and say, all right, I checked this deployment. Somebody deployed, let's say, Celestia for a project and promised that they will have a latency sub 1 second and then less than $1 transaction fee. So these becomes 2 metric. Then the validator will go and generate a proof of performance of that. And then the other set of validators will go and say, yes, that's a valid performance submission, or it's not a valid performance submission. So we're starting actually with smaller categories, as I said, probably looking at for specific metrics, for specific type of categories, but also each project cares about different things. What a DeFi project will care about is different from a gaming project. And so these are the learning journey that we'll go through, and hopefully we'll have a sort of like a customized performance proof that will depend on each builder and what they care about. But always it will be something measurable. Like we cannot measure, for example, I don't know, a UI UX design. So that kind of project's unlikely to become done on Crestal, but we can measure, for example, a node operation of a certain indexer, storage, DA, etc.
Makes sense. Next and last question is, how can we ensure that our applications can scale effectively on Crestal? Is there anything that you recommend?
So two things. First of all, actually, when you have a scalability performance in the Crestal designer and the design assistant, these questions will come up. So it will, for example, ask you how many users are targeting today, but also what is your projection of user growth. So you will say, all right, I would like to set up an infrastructure today that can handle 10,000 users, which probably translates to, I don't know, 10,000 transactions per second. What this will do then, this will become a request that the solvers have to design for. So a good solver then has to commit to that. They will say, listen, with the pieces of modular service I'll give you, I guarantee that it will work like that. And then that's on them as a risk they take as a solver, that they will put the right infra specs, they will put the right design specs that will meet that. If that's not met, then they are not getting paid. And then also, if that's not met, we are building a way for you to switch to a better proposal. And so what we want to do, we want to create an abstraction that you don't have to go through the hassle. If something is not scaling as you needed it to, then there is some sort of a proxy on Crestal that will disconnect this first proposal that is failing and then plug it in with a better proposal. And at the end of the day, it's kind of like a market dynamic. So if your requirements are so high and there is no solution for it, which means actually nobody's willing to run an infra for you for that, then perhaps actually the state of blockchain is not there yet, or we have to look at it different. But we're not taking any assumption at this point. We assume that you're going to say something, and then solvers will do the right specs to match that. If they don't match it, they are not paid. And if they're not getting paid, somebody else can also take their job and do the solving for you. And we will make it as easy, hopefully as easy as possible for you to switch from solving one to solving two.
All right, sounds good. I think that was pretty explanatory. Where would you say that devs should go to learn more, see all the developer resources if they want to build on or connect the API for the competition?
I think the most active place that we are interacting with right now is on the Discord. We don't have like a massive Discord. There's about 8,000 members. So we have channels specifically for devs. Our team is available to answer all those questions. We are also publishing slowly like the specs. So for example, for operating an SDK node to solve, we have the specs ready. We'll have to talk, you'll have to reach out to me. I'm happy to, that's my job, like to talk to everybody as much as possible. But also we're thinking of like easy ways for you to interact. So for instance, if you want to solve, we are building a Telegram bot that will send the request from the builder straight to your TG, and you can just answer through that. So we're trying also to go where the devs are. But yeah, building our assets slowly. It's like running a Formula One car and changing the tires in the middle of the track. So it's fun. It's a fun journey.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thanks everyone for joining in. Please stay tuned on our Twitter channel, Discord. If you have any questions, we'll be posting there all the information from this webinar. And you can also see the recording on the Blockchain Education Network YouTube channel and also on the GA Capital channel. Guys, thank you so much and super excited to see what's going to get built on. And thank you, Marquen, for introducing Crestal. I was not aware, but it's super excited for what you guys are building. Cheers.
Thank you. Thank you.